Hey there guys, welcome to Anthony Reviews, where Anthony reviews. And pretty recently, I asked you guys to send me your questions, doing a little bit of a Q&A here while we're in between new content. And I've got quite a few questions. I've got some questions here on my girlfriend's iPad, and let's just go ahead and get through them. It's just gonna be whatever questions I see, what I have answers for, and we'll just go through them like that. Okay, let's go. First question that I have here is from Frankles2001, good friend Frank. He says, if you could have a dream toy of your favorite character, what toy company would you go with? What accessories would you want with it? So, dream toy of your favorite character. My favorite character is Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern, of course. And I guess if I had to pick a particular toy company, I think, and I mean, this sounds odd just because, like, they've done them, but I would want a DC Direct Green Lantern figure. I would probably, because that way it's sort of based on particular art and everything. So I would want some sort of Green Lantern figure. This is cheating, but I would want like a box set of different art styles of different Hal Jordan, and each one would come with like a different accessory more appropriate for the time. So like an old school Green Lantern would come with like the boxing glove or something like that, and then maybe some of like the new stuff would come with more of like a big, translucent like sci-fi gun or something along those lines. So yeah, that's what I would go with. He also asked thoughts on EC3 and Zack Ryder. Will they or won't they? At this point, I'm going to say, won't they? I don't even want to give context to any of that. If you know, you know, and I don't. Next questions we have here are from I Want My TV Now. And he asks, whoever this may be, how do you fellow toy color? How do you do? But he had a little bit of an accident there. What are your top 5 nostalgic Burger King and McDonald's toys? 10 total. I can't do a full 10. When I think back, I remember the Incredibles toys that was from McDonald's, I want to say. Of course, the Pokemon toys from back in the day from Burger King are a classic. I remember the SpongeBob toys from back in the day were also pretty classic. I want to say I had some Tarzan toys. I'm a big fan of the Hercules toys that I was given by a friend who may or may not be this person asking this question, which I've got a video. Feel free to check it out on my channel. I'm trying to remember a bunch, because I mean, there's so many, right? Those are the ones that come to my head right now. Next questions here we have from Ray Sketches. Ray Sketches, of course, is Ray, who is my girlfriend, who's sitting off camera right now.
Hello.
I don't know if you heard that. I'm sure you did, but that's who asked these questions. Her first question is, what's your favorite toy in your girlfriend's collection? My girlfriend, of course, being her, Ray Sketches, which is why she asked the question. And off the top of my head, the one that comes to mind is the Power Rangers Dino Charge Megazord. And there's a reason behind this. Dino Charge, of course, is one of the Nickelodeon seasons from the sort of mid-2010s, and is actually one of the first shows that I watched with Ray, my girlfriend, to kind of sort of test the waters to see if she could get into Power Rangers the same way I was. Because obviously she's familiar with Power Rangers, she'd seen Power Rangers, even kind of liked Power Rangers. But this was like a test to see how deep she was willing to go into the world of Power Rangers. But either way, the Megazord, of course, the big mech in that show, we were at a toy show at a local mall, and they had like a complete, it wasn't new, it was out of box, but a complete Megazord. And I asked how much, and the guy said 15, and I went, 15? Like 1.5? Went, yeah. And we bought it on the spot. Well, rather, I told her that she had to get it, kind of thing, because at the time, even though they've kind of gone a little bit down, then at the time, $15, and it still kind of is a steal for any kind of Megazord. So yeah, that's probably my favorite thing in her collection. If you had to make a toy line, what would it be? Scale, price point, franchise, etc. Bit of a broad question, I will say. If I had to make a toy line, I would want some kind of like cool DC toy line, and I would have it be really, I mean, this is sort of the full-on, not gonna happen kind of imagination. I think that the Spin Masters DC toy line, Batman toy line really, is very, very neat. But, you know, I feel like it's very simple, very small. I would want something that felt like it came right out of the 90s. So the much is like sculpt and articulation and paint that the 90s sort of DC figures had. I want a full-on scale sort of DC toy line that was vehicles, playsets, all that kind of stuff. And I would want to hit every kind of character. You know, it's not just gonna be Batman or Superman. Once again, this is speaking in unrealistic terms. But like, let's just do it. Let's go hog wild. I want to do what DC Universe Classics did back in the day for adult collectors, for kids. That would be my go-to. Lastly, what are your predictions for the next wave of Lightning Collection figures? Now, of course, Lightning Collection is the Power Rangers Lightning Collection toy line. It is the 6-inch scale toy line from Hasbro representing the Power Rangers brand. It's got all sorts of characters across multiple series, I guess. And yeah, you know, the sort of theme seems to be trying to pull from a lot of different eras, occasionally doing bad guys. So if I had to guess the next wave, and of course this is recorded on March 25th of 2021, so I would assume we would get some sort of like Time Force figure, maybe Time Force Pink perhaps, because she's quite popular. Probably, who are we missing? Something like In Space related, because we've been getting quite a bit of decent amount of In Space figures, so In Space Blue to kind of help fill out the In Space team. Red Rangers. Well, ideally, because it's me, I would want a Carter Grayson Lightspeed Rescue Red. So we've got, what, a Red Ranger, a Blue Ranger, and a Pink Ranger. And, let's go a little left field. Let's say Finster from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the guy that like made the clay sort of putties and the general like villains of the week for Rita Repulsa. That's what I'd go with. Yeah. All right. So thanks, Ray. Thanks, Ray.
You're welcome, and thank you.
Next question we have here is from Phil Dragish. What's your favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger film, and what do you think his performance does to enhance that film? Ooh, that's an interesting question. I mean, what I think is his personal best and say what is my favorite are different questions. I will stand by that Last Action Hero is his best film. I think that is a perfect sort of sign-off to the kinds of films that he was making and the films like that in general. I think that he really sells it, and I don't see how anyone else of the action genre could have pulled it off like him. As far as my personal favorite, though, Jingle All the Way, my personal favorite film with Arnold Schwarzenegger in it, and it's really, you know, it's him. You know, it's the idea that this guy is you know, running through the gamut of Christmas things, I guess. Yeah, that's pretty great. So yeah, I'd say that. And a special shout out to my favorite James Cameron film, True Lies. Just saying. I just think Arnold, he's unique, and he really just became stronger and stronger at one point in his films, to a point of self-awareness to an extent. And I think for the projects he was taking, that was perfectly fine. You know, that's the self-awareness helps in that regard. My legs are already falling asleep from me like sitting cross-legged. Ugh. Okay. Next question, or set of questions at least, we have here are from T. Hamill, good buddy T. Hamill, who of course has been watching and listening to my content for quite some time, so thank you, sir. He says, hey Anthony, long-time listener, first-time writer. That's lots of great content since the last Q&A. Lately, I've been thinking of what hot toys I would buy, assuming I had the money and the space. Iron Man armors always come to mind, as well as maybe Quantum Suit Steve Rogers. I think you mentioned in the past that you're not a huge fan of the more statue-esque figures, but there are exceptions like Anakin, as well as Rey's, Bucky, and Nat Hot Toys figures. So I was just wondering what types of hot toys appeal to you if you considered buying more. It would have to be very character specific. I don't think I could try to complete like a set of characters like the Avengers. You know, you have to buy the Avengers. That's a lot of characters. So it would have to be something that resonates with me in terms of the look of the figure and the thing the figure is supposed to represent or come from. So like, I haven't committed to them yet, but I do want to. The Batman Forever, Batman and Robin figures look fantastic. Of course, Batman Forever doesn't get a lot of merch, so it's something that I should probably go ahead and jump on, because what are the odds of them doing more Batman Forever merch? Not likely. So I should probably go ahead and get that. But yeah, it'd have to be, you know, character specific. I came very close to getting the Endgame Captain America, just because of money at the time. Couldn't really jump on it, but that's an option for sure. And yeah, it would have to just be like the character that I like from whatever franchise. Unfortunately, they've never really made a Green Lantern figure. They made one Green Lantern figure back in the day, but in terms of like a movie figure, obviously they never made Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern. So yeah, haven't really had the chance to jump on that yet. I know the CW shows haven't been on your radar as much these past few years. No kidding. But what are your thoughts on Superman and Lois? I think it's really strong so far, and it's a refreshing dynamic for Superman, who's sort of been stuck in a loop, at least in media, for decades. I have not had a chance to watch any of Superman and Lois just yet, but I'm looking forward to it. I've heard nothing but good things so far, which is great, and I appreciate the sort of take that they're doing on Superman. Within the last few years in comics, around, I guess that was the 2016 period, Dan Jurgens was writing Action Comics, and, you know, of course, that was around the time of young John Kent, Superman and Lois' son, and I really dug that family dynamic. It was new for Superman, and I'm glad that they're sort of bringing that into TV and movies, the idea of Superman being a father. I think it adds an extra layer and something new for audiences. So I do plan on checking it out eventually. So, yeah. Finally, it's never shown too much in room tours. We've had a few glimpses over the years. But I was wondering what your comic collection is like and how you've approached collecting comics growing up. Well, the comics, just because they're books, they don't really pop like an action figure, right? So I don't really show them off too much, not to mention I don't really have them in spaces where I can show off the collection itself. Especially since moving into the apartment, they're sort of just stashed away. But yeah, I still buy single issues, not as much as I used to, and then occasionally I'll go on huge binges of collecting trades. For those of you who don't know, from about, what was that? Like 2012, late 2012 to late 2015, I worked in a comic book store. So I had quite an access to, comics in general. And I used to buy a lot of sort of single issues as they were coming out through there, reading back issues, catching up on a lot of stuff. That was definitely the period in my life where I was the most knowledgeable of current events in comic books. Nowadays, a Marvel event could come and go and I wouldn't even be aware of it, really. But I've got a selection of single issues that I still have. I don't really collect a lot of single issues anymore, but I still have a good chunk of them, and I'm currently reading books, like the current Captain America series. That's quite good. And I'm also reading Transformers, so there's still single issues that I get, but more often than not, I'm picking them up in trade, I would say. And he says, thanks as always. Keep up the great work. Thank you, T. Hamill. I really appreciate it. Next question we have here is from Shades at Night. Shades at Night, of course, is my very good friend Kirk. We've collaborated several times throughout the years, so I'd recommend you check out his channel, Shades at Night. Once again, you'll probably see me on there. So, Kirk asks, if McFarlane decided to make a wave of Batman figures, similar to what is often done with Marvel Legends, what would be your desired DC Multiverse lineup of Batman figures be? What new figures would make the list? So what he's referring to is that Marvel Legends will often do like a themed wave, which to an extent DC Multiverse through McFarlane does as well. But it'll be like X-Men wave, Spider-Man wave, movie of the month wave, that kind of thing. So yeah, I would say if we're doing a Batman wave, I could name off a bunch of comic book characters. I can say, oh, well, they should do Mr. Freeze, and they should do a Detective Comics Scott Snyder era Dick Grayson Batman, and they can, that's kind of obvious, but I think the easiest answer would be to tackle the Schumacher Batman movies. Give me all the Batman Forever character and costumes, and give me all of the Batman and Robin ones. I'd buy them. Just saying. He also asked if you could pick one live-action Quicksilver Marvel Legends figure for Hasbro to make, which would it be? And of course, the options would be the Age of Ultron, Days of Future Past, Apocalypse, or the WandaVision Halloween episode. So, spoilers, I guess, if you haven't seen WandaVision. But it's all over the internet. I don't know how you avoided it at this point. So, I mean, I guess for a single figure, I would want Days of Future Past, right? Like the goggles and the silver jacket and the Pink Floyd shirt he's wearing, right? With like an alternate head where he has like the security guard hat, and it's like his hair's wet, like when it's because the sprinklers have been set off. Yeah, I would say that. Now, if they were to do like a 2-pack of Wanda and fake Pietro as their comic accurate outfits, I'd probably go with that. But just for one figure, I would want Days of Future Past, even though Age of Ultron would make more sense because we don't have an Age of Ultron Quicksilver at all. You know, he's a part of the Marvel Universe, we don't even have him, but I don't care. I'll be selfish and say Days of Future Past. And lastly, what do you think is the worst figure you own, i.e. something you hate, but you know you just have to have it in your collection? Whew, that's tough. I'm trying to think if there's like anybody here that I can immediately think of, and I'm like looking all over the apartment to see if there's figures in my collection. I don't think I have anything that's like that bad, to be honest. Yeah, I know that's not an answer, but it's gonna be for what we have here. Sorry. Next set of questions we have are from Chief Brody Rules. And I mean, I can't even keep the charade up anymore. This guy cheated. He's asked multiple questions. I'll see what happens if we can even answer some of these. He says, I won't fuck it up like I did the last time. I didn't ask any questions, and no one asked toy-related questions. And I remember some toy-related questions, but hey, fair enough. He asks, what toy line is really cool, but it's not for your age group? Mine is Rescue Heroes. I love the idea of it, but I'm too old to collect it. I know you answered this on Twitter, but I still think it's a fun question. Yeah, so the answer I'd given him was the Goo-Jitsu figures. They're essentially like sort of very similar to something like Stretch Armstrong. They're like these gooey little guys, and they're like themed after a bunch of different stuff. So there's like animals and dragons and dinosaur dudes, but they're doing like Goo-Jitsu, so it's like ninjutsu, but goo. Yeah. So I think that's a fun toy line, but like, what the hell am I supposed to do with those? I don't know. What would you recommend for a toy collector starting out? There's so many exclusives and variant choices, it's difficult to keep up. What would you recommend if someone wanted to start with G.I. Joe, DC McFarlane, to keep up with announcements? I'm asking for a friend. Yeah, so I mean, when it comes to stuff like that, it really boils down to what you think has, you have an interest in. And what it really, for me, comes down to is what line do you think has the most that you can get out of? So let's take G.I. Joe, for example. G.I. Joe has had several toy lines throughout the years. I would say check out some forums. Just kind of go online and type in G.I. Joe toy lines. There's tons of different sort of websites that'll give you each and every one. And so you can kind of go through and see like, okay, which ones have the most that I can get, that I like. If you find a toy line and it only has 4 figures, you don't like the designs, maybe they're not, available at a good price, don't bother, and that's going to be something you run into. Obviously, they won't all have that problem, but like, some can have one problem, some can have another problem. So it's just a matter of doing your research and finding out what toy line has the sort of best designs for you, best prices for you. And if you can say to yourself, like, yeah, I can stick with this line, then jump in. And it's just a matter of kind of just looking, I don't really know how I find these things. I just sort of stumble across them, look up YouTube videos, do research. I would say as far as the news goes, Whoosh is a really good channel to follow because they do like a weekly kind of news recap on 6-inch scale figures. So yeah, you know, just I don't know, just dig in. I think that's the best way, is just decide what you like and go from there. That's kind of the best way I can go about doing that. It's difficult to buy wrestling toys. They hardly show up on pegs, and Ringside Collectibles, which is a website, by the way, where you can buy wrestling toys, is almost double the price the figures would normally be at Walmart. Do you think it's worth it? And would you buy the figures one at a time to keep up, or do you mass purchase? Well, I guess it depends on the set. So for wrestling figures in particular, I don't think there's ever been a full wave necessarily where I'm like, I need to have all these guys. And the best thing about wrestling is it's very rare for people to get just one figure, especially in this day and age. So for example, AEW Unrivaled, new toy line started last year. There's already been multiple Cody Rhodes, multiple Young Bucks, multiple Kenny Omega figures, and that's by design. That's a good thing. So that way there's multiple versions for you to get. You find your favorite, you buy that one, and you go from there. Now, the sort of problem with that, of course, is that wrestling figures, at least right now, can be a little bit difficult to find. And obviously the answer is well, there's Ringside Collectibles. It's this website that sells wrestling toys, and you can buy them there. And yeah, it is a bit pricey, unfortunately. And basically you're paying for that premium of knowing that you're gonna get it. And I think that's the only case in which it's worth it, is if you know you want something. If you know, like, I don't want to miss out on Ultimate's Stone Cold Steve Austin, then just go for it. You know, if you think it justifies it, then by all means it does. I don't order a lot from Ringside Collectibles because, in my opinion, as of right now where I am in my life, wrestling figures aren't that big of a priority that I need to make sure that I spend sometimes $10 more, sometimes twice the price like you mentioned, on a figure with shipping and everything. So yeah, it's all personal preference. I think it's a lot easier for people that only collect wrestling figures. I myself collect other things other than wrestling, so it doesn't take as much of an extreme priority. And honestly, I think that is maybe reason why that I don't collect as much wrestling, is because the prices are very high on certain websites, and there's no guarantee when you go to the stores. So yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one for sure. He also asks, what do you prefer, being charged when the toy ships or when you pre-order? Me personally, I love when the money is instantly taken out, but a lot of these pre-orders don't take my money until it ships. Not a fan. Well, this is another kind of like, it depends. There's definitely times where I have money in my account and it's like, I just take it now, please. But part of me also likes that it's sort of it'll happen when it happens. And I think it makes it easier for toys where I'm not sure, or if I think I can find them somewhere else. If there were toys that I knew only came from that website or whatever, and you know I know for certain that I'm gonna order it from them, I wish it would give me the option at least to just pay now. But there are some figures that are available at mass retail or available on other sites where I pre-order it just to have a safety net, and then I go ahead and I find it somewhere else or find it online or whatever, and I order it there, and it's easier to cancel something when you haven't already paid, because I don't want to have to worry about the fact that like, oh, we got to reimburse you, and it'll go through there, and then it'll show up as this on your statement, and blah, blah, blah. It's easier in that case, if I want to cancel something, to just outright cancel it. Don't worry about the payment. So yeah, that's what I would say about that, is that I wish it at least gave me the option to pay. That way, if I want to, I can. Last question from Frank here. He says, I know they're superheroes and all, and they wear tights, but what is the most, that's just a repaint Marvel Legends that just disgusts you? Bonus points if it's one you own. Well, I mean, there's some that are just sort of simplistic, for sure, and some of them have been improved over time. So I would say it's something along those lines, where it's like, you could have added an effect, but you didn't. Let me see if there's anything here specifically. I don't know. Okay, I mean, if you can see here, like Loki here, I'm not expecting a chainmail sort of sculpt, but like he clearly has like the sort of Aquaman kind of scale bits, and it's just painted. So you know that's kind of a bummer. But stuff like that where I I've got a Venom over here, not Venom, Carnage, and obviously he has like all the black and everything on him, and they've done a recent one where it's like raised, actual sculpted black kind of weird look on it. So it's like you could do it and you didn't. So I guess that's usually it. I don't have as much of a problem with it as you do, Frank. So we've got a question here from Harry Garden. He says he's got 3 questions. Do you like Wallace and Gromit? Yeah, I do. Have you ever seen The Blues Brothers? No, I haven't. Are you familiar with Some Jerk with a Camera? And if so, do you watch his work? No, I have not. And I apologize if these answers seem kind of snarky, but it's just because I can very simply answer them with a yes or no. So thank you for your questions, Harry Garden. Site B, it's Frank again. What's your favorite Disney movie? You know this. It's Hercules, the 1997 classic Hercules. Fantastic film. You don't like it, and you know what? That's fine. Action Figure Expert asks, I know you collect multiple toy lines, but if you were just to keep one toy line, whether it's DC Collectibles or whatever, what would be the one toy line you would keep? Well, I mean, it would be DC Universe Classics. That would definitely be it. It's one of my all-time favorite toy lines. It's expansive. There's so many different characters, and it's one of the main toy lines that got me into collecting in the first place. So, DC Universe Classics for sure. Let's see. We've got a question here from Tevya Smolka. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Question 1. What games are you looking forward to playing in 2021 and why? 2021 video games. Well, I mean, I don't play a lot of games. I was looking forward to Gotham Knights, and that got pushed back to 2022, so there's that. If Halo ever comes out, maybe I'll be excited for that. Pokemon Snap looks pretty good. And, you know, maybe the Skyward Sword HD remake. I think that's about it right now. I'm just wondering, who's your favorite hero from Marvel, DC Comics, or Indie Comics? Mine are John Kent, Superboy, Wally West Flash, David Wayne Robin, Invincible, Mark Grayson, Tim Drake Robin, the X-23, Laura, Nightcrawler, Cyclops, Spider-Girl, Mayday Parker, and so on. So, well, you definitely have quite a bit of favorites. My favorites from DC Comics is Hal Jordan. My favorite from Marvel Comics is Steve Rogers. And I don't read a whole lot of independent comic books, unfortunately. That being said, by the time this video is out, the new Invincible series has already started on Amazon Prime, so I will be watching that, and hopefully I like it. I don't know. What movies are you looking forward to seeing in 2021? Are you looking forward to the Snyder Cut coming out real soon? Because for me personally, I'm not really looking forward to the Snyder Cut, but I am intrigued on how this movie is going to turn out. But that's just my opinion. Yes, so by this time, the Snyder Cut has come, and I would say it's gone, but I mean, it seems like fans really wanted to stick around. And I thought it was pretty okay. I did not hate it, by any means. It was not my favorite, though. It's not a masterpiece, and I have a lot of problems with it. But, you know, it was pretty good. A lot of things I liked about it, a lot of things that it made me question why they were changed or removed or anything like that in terms of the theatrical cut. I'm gonna say it, 4 hours is quite a long time for a movie, and it's just, there's there that could have been compacted, I feel. And if you ask me, the last bit of the film, all the after credit stuff, essentially, what is after credits but is part of the movie, everything after Victor Stone's dad, his voicemail, you know, that whole part, Superman opens up the shirt, and the movie stops there. Cut out all the other stuff. Yeah, okay. Alright, and the last question we have here is from a channel called Fanboy Theory. He asks, McFarlane is making a good job with their DC line or not? Maybe Figma, SH, Mafex could do better for DC adult collectors? Well, I think McFarlane is doing a good job. I know there are quite a bit of McFarlane naysayers, but, I mean, they're, just a little over in their first year, right? Like, they haven't been doing it for that long, have they? And they've gotten out a lot of characters, and they're filling out a lot of different pieces of the DC universe. I know it's very Batman heavy as of right now, but I will give it to them. It's really cool to see like storylines and things from the comics and different things that like being adapted in a way that DC Direct can't do anymore. So, you know, these toy lines that probably would have been made by DC Direct, like the Dark Knight's Metal, stuff like that, like that's cool that they're able to do that. I really appreciate that, honestly. So, yeah, it's Batman heavy, but I've gotten quite a few figures. I think they're really well made, especially for a $20 price point. That's kind of the thing. You're comparing it to Marvel Legends and what Mattel used to do, then I think it is quite good, all things considered. And that's what you kind of have to remember is the price points and what is available at that price range. So you can't compare like a McFarlane figure to like a Mezco or something like that. They're completely different figures, you know? The imports like SH Figuarts and Mafex, they're different kinds of figures. So I'm glad that they're able to make figures. They have, but I'm quite happy with what is available at retail from McFarlane. I think they're doing quite a good job. But that's it, guys. That's all the questions. I'm sure this video is kind of long. Maybe it isn't. There's a helicopter, which I guess is the sign to stop. But thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for the questions. And thank you. I think we're somewhere around like 2,500 subscribers. So I really appreciate you guys being here, enjoying the content. I've got other videos if you'd like to check them out. Tons of videos over the past couple of years. Like, comment, subscribe if you'd like to. The bell does a thing, I hear, so you can check that out if you want. I'm sure it's great. Oh boy, I'm a little tired, to be honest. Frank really took it out of me. He asked like 15 questions. I said 3, and I answered them. I let him do that. Anyways, see you guys later.